Hey guys, welcome back to Crumbs and Doilies. I'm at Wandsworth in the bakery. Now last week Gemma and I showed you how to make some delicious vegan Biscoff cookie sarnies, which were amazing. But a lot of you were commenting in the comments box below saying you'd love some gluten-free recipes because maybe it's January, you're trying out new diets, or maybe you genuinely can't eat gluten. So we thought this week we'd give you a cupcake recipe that is gluten-free and it's still absolutely delicious. And we're going to start with a gluten-free red velvet cupcake. So this is pretty similar to our regular red velvet cupcake recipe, which we have on this channel, and we'll put it in the description box below along with our vegan red velvet cupcake because that is also delicious. We're going to start with 135 grams of soft unsalted butter. We're going to put that straight into the mixer along with 125 grams of caster sugar and 115 grams of gluten-free self-raising flour. Now the flour that I'm using today is Dove's Farm. It's naturally gluten-free and it's a blend of all sorts of things such as rice, potato, tapioca, and there are loads of different blends out there. So you might not be able to find Dove's Farm where you are, which is absolutely fine. Just see what you can, try them out and choose your favorite one. So along with that, I'm going to put in 10 grams of cocoa powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and then finally we're going to add some xanthan gum because basically we need to create some gluten because gluten in baked is what makes everything bind together, and if you remove the gluten it all just crumbles, and you've probably had a gluten-free cake before and picked it up and it's just sort of fallen apart. So we're going to try and recreate the gluten using xanthan gum, and we're just going to put in a tiny 1/8 of a teaspoon into the mixer and it's going to help bring it all together. And finally 2 large free-range eggs. And now we're going to pop the mixer on a low speed to start with so it doesn't all fluff up in your face. Once it's started to combine, I'm going to turn it up to a medium-high speed for about 30 seconds. And now it's time to add our liquid and our red food colouring to make sure that this is a red velvet cake. And we're going to use buttermilk for this recipe because it's tangy and it adds a kind of smoothness to the batter as well. And I'm going to do 1.5 tablespoons of buttermilk. And if you can't get hold of buttermilk, or you know, 1.5 tablespoons is such a small quantity that maybe you don't want to buy a full pot, and that's fine because we did a few months ago a Tuesday tip on how to make your own buttermilk using milk and a bit of acid, and it's so easy, so we'll put that in the description box below. And to this I'm going to add a bit of vanilla, so I'm going to go for 1/2 teaspoon of really good quality vanilla extract along with 1/2 teaspoon of red food colouring. Put that all into the mixture and then we'll turn it on for another 30 seconds. And now finally we need to add our bicarb to make this raise, and we're going to add that 1/2 teaspoon to a full teaspoon of cider vinegar, and again that's going to help add a nice tang, that kind of classic flavour that you have with your red velvet. So I'm going to put the bicarb into the soda, it's going to froth up and we're immediately going to chuck it into our mixer. And I'm only mixing that on a low speed just for a couple of seconds, and now I'm going to take the paddle off. I'm just going to give this a little mix by hand just to fold all that kind of bicarb through. And once you've got a nice, smooth, consistent batter, it's time to get it into our cupcake cases. Now I've got my pan here and it is a 12-hole cupcake pan, but the chances are we're probably not going to get a full 12 out of this because these cupcakes don't rise quite as well as regular cupcakes with regular flour in them. So we're going to put a nice big spoonful in each cupcake case and we'll see how many we get out of it. Okay, so red food colouring, I think Gemma's probably mentioned it before, but all food colouring when you're baking, especially if it's going into the batter, you really want to use a paste rather than a gel or a liquid, especially a liquid, because it really does affect the kind of consistency of your batter. So go for a nice thick paste, and that way you don't have to use very much. It won't affect the consistency or the taste of your cupcakes. And I am 1 cupcake short, but that was to be expected. So if you want to make more than this, you might want to double the recipe or 1.5 times it. I'll put a couple of options in the description box below, but for now we're going to bake these for about 20 minutes until they're springy on top. Right, before we clean down and make our icing, I thought I'd just tell you about something exciting because as you know, we've started selling our nozzles and loads of other baking equipment, decorating equipment on CupcakeJemma.com. And a lot of you are asking us where we get our paper cases from because it's hard to find the right size. And we have the right size because we've been doing this for ages. So we have decided that we are going to be putting these on the website too, which is really exciting. And they're these little boxes and you get 200 paper cases of the big size, which is this size, which is just awesome because sometimes you can't get like a decent quantity of them either. And as well as the big ones, in case you were wondering, we've also got the mini ones on there too for all your mini cupcake needs. So I'm going to have a clear down, we'll wait for our cupcakes to cool, and then we'll make our cream cheese icing. Okay, cream cheese icing. Now Gemma's made this a heap of times on her channel, so we're just going to whiz through it nice and quickly so we can get on with decorating and eating our red velvet cupcakes. So first of all, into the bowl, I am going to put 125 grams of soft unsalted butter, and I'm going to whip that up with my hand mixer, just to kind of break it up a little bit before we add the juice. Okay, so I haven't beat it for too long, just a minute or two, and now I'm going to add 200 grams of cream cheese. There's loads of different brands again, so find one that you like. Something that's full fat is the best for this. This is Philadelphia, which is personally my favorite kind of cream cheese. And one thing about this is you want to get it out of the fridge a little while before you use it because you kind of want your butter and your cheese to be at a similar temperature, otherwise they just don't mix together quite so well. So I'm going to get back with my mixer until they're really nice and combined, about 2 or 3 minutes, and they'll be nice and smooth. Okay, so once they've all combined, they've gone nice and kind of fluffy, we can add some icing sugar. Now in total, I've got 700 grams, which I've already sifted. And as usual, we're going to add it in 2 halves, beating it really well between each addition. Finally, I'm just going to add a good pinch of sea salt to this. I wouldn't usually put salt in my icing, but I really feel like with the cheese that you really want to get that tanginess out of it. So a little pinch of salt will do that, but watch out because too much salt will be a little bit icky. So just mix that in on a nice high speed. You'll notice the more you whip it, the lighter and fluffier it gets. And that is the cream cheese buttercream complete. And as if by magic, I have got my red velvet cupcakes here, which are out of the oven. They've cooled down, they're ready to be iced. And I've also got a piping bag here, which don't forget, you can get on CupcakeJemma.com, along with loads of nozzles. So first I'm going to fill this up, and then we can get piping. And for this, I'm using a nice round nozzle here, and I'm just going to do a classic round blob, as we call it here, on all the cupcakes. And I know a lot of you struggle with kind of how to decorate your cupcakes, so in a few weeks, Gemma and I are going to do a video for you guys to explain how you can use all the nozzles that we've got online, and give you some good hints and tips for your cakes and cupcakes. But anyway, let's get decorating. And now you can decorate your cupcakes with whatever you like, but I have another cupcake here, gluten-free obviously, from earlier on. I stole it from the bakery, and I'm just going to sprinkle some crumbs on top of the cupcakes. And that is it. Those are our finished gluten-free red velvet cupcakes, and they look pretty much identical to non-gluten-free cupcakes, but it's not about what they look like, it's about how they taste. So let's give it a go. It's really good. You would have no idea that that was gluten-free. And obviously cream cheese with the red velvet sponge is an absolute classic. But have a look in here, you can see it's still just as springy as a regular cupcake. Right, so that's it. I hope you have fun making these and let us know how you get on with the whole gluten-free situation. Any questions, then let us know and we'll do our best to answer them. We'll also make a playlist with all our free from recipes, so anything gluten-free or vegan we'll chuck in there so you can check them all out. Don't forget to head over to CupcakeJemma.com as well to have a look at our nozzles and piping bags and tools and cupcake cases and tea towels and all sorts. Buy yourself a little treat to get you through this grey January. And Gemma and I, or Gemma, one of us, maybe Dane, maybe Nikki, we'll be back next week with another recipe, so we'll see you then. Bye.